Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a social justice, social media mob looking to cancel her in this all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Cancel Vacation in paperback and e-readers today. One of my viewers wanted me to talk about friendship and the boundaries of a friendly relationship. Now, the viewer says that they had ended a toxic friendship due to going on a different path in her life than the one that the friend had back around 2002. And after she and the friend decided to go their separate ways, this is where the friend started participating in some extremely antisocial behavior, such as becoming obsessed with the viewer, and then by going to stalk the viewer by speaking to them at locations like the school they were going to, and joining organizations that they were a part of, and continue talking to this person, even though the person already told them that they didn't want anything to do with them. And the viewer wants to know, why do people bother you after you and the friend agree to end the relationship? And the answer to that question is very easy. The answer is that this person who the viewer was friends with doesn't really understand the concept of boundaries. Now, one of the big problems that some people have is not understanding what boundaries are and how to respect those imaginary lines that are in the sand. Now, people in healthy relationships know what the concept of boundaries are, and they understand that that line in the sand is basically not only there to protect people, but it also shows how you have respect for others, and you have respect for others by respecting their personal space and respecting their time. Unfortunately, when you have some people out here, they really don't have a good understanding of how to have a healthy relationship. And because they don't have an understanding of how to have a healthy relationship, they don't really understand what the concept of boundaries are. And what these people do is that they start crossing the line, and they cross the line because they don't really understand that part of a healthy relationship is understanding that people have to have their own personal space, and that they themselves need to have their own separate space. And some people just don't understand the whole idea of respecting people's space. Now, this person basically doesn't seem to understand that you were looking to end this relationship because you wanted to move on, to go in a different direction in your life. And this person possibly felt insecure because they possibly didn't have many friends in their lives and didn't see how their behavior was keeping them from being able to get close to someone else. Now, with a lot of people like this, what happens to them is they are what I call cling monsters. And a cling monster is just somebody who basically wants to hold on to someone, like a sock that's connected to a piece of clothing due to static electricity, or like the craft singles where you have the plastic film and it basically clings to the piece of cheese to keep it separate from the other pieces of cheese. And with the cling monster, what this person does is they want to attach themselves to people, and they want to attach themselves to people because they are afraid of being alone. And because the cling monster is afraid of being alone, what they do is cling to people, and they cling to people because they are afraid that they are going to be alone, and that they basically believe that they're doing something that they cannot really be out here by themselves. Now, the problem with the cling monster is that their behavior basically really starts to turn people off, and it makes them uncomfortable. It makes people really uncomfortable, and it really makes it where you really don't really can feel like you're feeling comfortable in a relationship because this person doesn't understand boundaries, and what they do is step in your personal space and basically look to smother you. And that's what's happening here, I believe, around 2002 with this viewer. I believe what happened here is that once she decided to move on with her life, what happened is that this person's insecurity started to get the better of them, and this is where they decided to escalate their behavior, and they escalated their behavior by harassing this viewer. and continue to harass this viewer by trying to speak to them and trying to speak to them, hoping that they could possibly try to save this relationship and hoping that she could possibly find a way to continue maintaining this relationship because this person that the viewer was involved with had a hard time dealing with being alone. And because she had a hard time with being alone, what she did was look to try to change the relationship from a friendly, codependent relationship where she basically looked to continue looking to be in this relationship where she wanted the power, with the viewer to have the power. What this person wanted to do was continue to escalate that from turning from a friendship into an adversarial relationship, because going out and continuing to go and talk to this person once they told you to leave them alone, and then looking to go and join organizations they were a part of in different places like school. Again, that really shows that this person really doesn't understand the concept of boundaries and doesn't understand that, yes, while a person has already told you they don't want anything to do with you, you need to understand how to move on. This really reminds me of a situation I dealt with in 1987 when I was in junior high school, and a bunch of guys I was hanging out with who were collecting comics told me they didn't want anything to do with me. And once they told me that, I was willing to just walk away from them. And after I walked away from them, they just continued to come after me. And they continued to come after me, and I just kept wondering why. And I realized that it was basically the codependent, clingy type toxicity that the viewer is talking about. And again, these people continue to escalate their behavior by looking to start fights with me, and also look to go out here and participate in behavior like stealing my comic books. I mean, this is the type of behavior I had to deal with after people said that they didn't want anything to do with me. And again, what really was crazy about that situation was these individuals going out here and created a boundary and said, okay, you want nothing to do with me. And I was willing to leave it at that. But if you go out here and start escalating your behavior, it clearly shows that there's something wrong with this individual, and clearly something wrong with this individual that they really, again, do not understand boundaries, in that once you say that a relationship is over, you have to leave that person alone. Yes, that person may be at your job, they may be at your church, they may be at your school, but the thing that you did was say that you two were going in two different directions, and that means that yes, this person is going to be in the same place, but your job is to leave that person alone. Your job is to put distance between yourself and that person. I mean, that's what healthy people do once you end a relationship. Once a relationship ends and you both agree that it ends, both of you are supposed to leave each other alone, and you're supposed to, again, stay away from each other. And yes, this person may possibly wind up going to certain places that you go, but the whole thing is that if they are going to go and join different organizations that you're a part of and go to different places, again, if they keep talking to you, that's where this is turning into stalking, because normal people, again, they leave. When they say, I'm leaving somebody alone, they leave them alone and just have nothing to do with them. I mean, that's what I do when people tell me they don't want me around. Okay, I'm just going to leave you alone, but don't ever come over to me to ask me anything. Don't come to talk to me about anything. You set this boundary, and you need to respect the line in the sand that you established. And the viewer has to understand that if you're dealing with a person like that, you have to be very firm and letting them know where the boundaries that you set is. You have to really let the person know where the boundary set is, and you have to secure that boundary, because what this person wants to do is find any opening to be able to try to cling back on the person. They want to go back to cling on to the person because they're afraid of being by themselves. But what the person who is out here with this behavior doesn't understand is that by trying to cling to this one person who doesn't want anything to do with you, what you're doing is making it where you're not going to be able to find opportunities to be around actual people who want to be around you. Now, I know it hurts when somebody tells you that they don't want to be friends with you anymore. But the whole thing is you have to respect that person's decision, and you have to respect the boundary that has been established, because at this point there is no reconciling with that person. I mean, if that person says they want nothing to do with you, you have to just go out and charge that person to the game, and you have to keep it moving on. And the whole thing about moving on is, as you move away from this person who wants nothing to do with you, the door opens for you to have opportunities to have healthy relationships with other people once you understand what the concept of boundaries are. And again, just because one person doesn't want anything to do with you doesn't mean that everybody hates you. That's another thing that the Cling Monster doesn't understand. The Cling Monster doesn't understand that, yes, people this person doesn't want anything to do with you, but people come and go out of our lives. And sometimes when people are growing apart, you have to understand, okay, this person is leaving my life, and it's okay if that person leaves my life. I mean, people leave everybody's life every day. I mean, people move to different locations. People get different jobs. People wind up graduating from school and lose contact with people because they're busy with their own lives. But the whole thing is we're going to be meeting different people in life. And the whole thing is, the more you try to hold on to a toxic relationship, you're losing time that you could have for an opportunity at a healthy one. And many people out here, they don't really understand what they're doing by trying to hold on to a relationship to someone who doesn't want to be there. What they're doing is, when they try to hold on to people who don't want to be there, is basically they're, one, wasting their time by trying to convince someone to stay in a relationship they don't want to stay in. Two, what you're doing is trying to hold on to a person who really doesn't want to be held. And three, you're basically going to start stepping into antisocial and criminal behaviors like stalking and harassment. And when things go too far and law enforcement has to step in and show you things like restraining orders or have you get arrested, that really shows that, again, you're going to extreme lengths to try to hold on to a relationship. And even worse, there are some people who escalate their behavior past the stalking into looking to create an adversarial relationship, because that's how desperate they are to hold on to someone. And again, trying to hold on to someone who really doesn't want to be there is a complete waste of time. And that's really something that you really don't want to do, because your time in this world is precious. And again, it's so precious that you can't get it back. So you don't want to waste time being in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be there. No, I wouldn't want to waste time to being in a relationship with someone who doesn't want to be there. I would just let that person go and go on with my life. And God will show me somebody who wants to be in my life, would appreciate the time that they're having. But you don't want to be a cling monster. No, you don't want to be a cling monster, because cling monsters, basically, they wind up trying, in their quest to hold on to people, wind up driving them away. And they wind up driving them away because in their efforts to hold on to people, they make people uncomfortable, they make people uneasy, they make people feel like they are being creeped out. And the whole thing is that instead of connecting with someone naturally and organically, what this person is doing is basically covering a person to the point where they basically smother a person. And that can be shown in things that they do as related to their body language, by standing real close to you, or basically walking too close to you, or putting and not really giving you your own personal space. I mean, these are some of the behaviors that wind up turning people off, because you want to be friends with people, but this person doesn't know how to be friends. They don't know how to have a healthy relationship. And they really need somebody in to give them some counseling, and that's related to basic social rules. That's what makes it where this person is out here. Again, they don't understand what the unwritten social rules are as related to personal relationships, because in personal relationships with friends, that while you are connecting over a subject or connecting over an interest, you understand and respect each other's personal space. I mean, that's something any good friend understands. Okay, this person, yeah, I'm cool with them, but he's doing his thing. I'm doing my thing. And again, both of us are living our own separate lives. But when you have a clingy person, they want to, again, be around you 24/7. And that's really extremely uncomfortable, because even boyfriends and girlfriends, again, in romantic relationships, even they have space. But this person doesn't understand the concept of giving people space and having your own things that you do. Again, you're supposed to just, again, if this person want to talk, you guys can talk to each other. That's the way regular friendships work. But with the cling monster, they don't understand this concept. And again, they would continue to bother you after you broke up, because they have no other options. And they have no other options because, again, they haven't been socialized to understand how people in relationships come in and out of our lives. They haven't been socialized to understand where the boundaries are, and they haven't been understanding that just as you come together, you can leave each other. And if you two aren't working out, again, there's other people you can be friends with. But this person is afraid to go out and explore those options because they're afraid of being rejected. And again, what you're talking about in this request is that, again, it wasn't a rejection. It was just you saying you wanted to move on in a different direction, the viewer. And again, that's your right to do that. It's your right to say, okay, I want to move on and I want to go someplace else. And the other person has to, while it hurts, you have to accept it. And again, this is something that I learned back when I was 13 to 16 years old. Okay, if people want to go in a different direction, it's not personal. They go their way, you go yours. But both of us have to respect each other's boundaries after we leave each other alone. If I leave a person alone, I have to respect that boundary, and I have to respect their personal space. And I cannot be talking to this person. If they say they want no contact with me, then I make no contact with them. And usually once people tell me they don't want to be bothered with me, okay, I will leave you alone. And I will leave you alone because I understand I need to respect your space and your boundaries. You've told me you want nothing to do with me, and I'm cool with that, and I will put a period at the end of things. But when you have people who go out here and continue to bother a person after they tell you to leave, they want you to be left alone, that shows that that person really doesn't understand the concept of boundaries and doesn't really understand the concept of friendship, because the foundation of friendship is respect. And a person who is a true friend is somebody who's going to respect your boundaries and respect you when you tell them that the relationship is over by leaving you alone and moving on with their life. Now, this was a video requested by a viewer, and if you want to request a video, you can send a donation for a minimum of $15 to the Cash App or the PayPal by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to learn how to overcome toxic behaviors like this, you can pick up many of my nonfiction books like The Woman Crisis, or Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, or my men's issues books like Stop Simping in the Workplace, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, and The Man Crisis. You can find all of those nonfiction books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those nonfiction books at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and you can find it at big box retailers like Walmart and Target. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, My Sister, My Frenemy. It's a sister act as the goddess next door and the devilish diva team up in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, My Sister, My Frenemy in paperback and e-readers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.